Hi, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Yes, you're right. It is Mercury is in its shadow. Very, very true. I hope everybody's doing well. Great to see you, Casmar. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Kelsey. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and of course, welcome back if you are returning. I'm Joshua the Psychic, and you can check out my website, psychicsun.com. If there's anything I can do for you. So tonight, you're in for a treat because we're going to talk about the Divine Mother and Father. And if you're catching this live, we are upon our Capricorn full moon. And the Capricorn energy is very father-like. And it is the time in which we have the sun and the moon in opposite signs. We have the sun in Cancer and we have the moon in Capricorn. Therefore, it's a full moon. So we're actually dealing with those archetypic mother-father energies, with the mother being Cancer sun, and then the father being the Capricorn moon. And I hope everybody is doing well. I know it's been quite the news, well, I guess year for sure, but this week in particular. So I hope everybody's doing okay with all of that. And that's what the full moon does. It shines a big light on things that were hidden. So we'll probably be seeing more interesting stuff coming up over the next 2 weeks. But I know that the moon is not happy in Capricorn at all. So this can be a little bit of a challenging time. So I'm hoping that this presentation is going to help you to make the most of this potentially challenging period. So we're going to discuss what the Divine Mother and Father are, why honoring the Divine Mother and the Divine Father is a game changer, how to honor them generally, just overall for everybody, but then also how to honor them specifically, sign by sign. And we'll be going through every single one tonight. So what are the Divine Mother and Father? Well, the Divine Mother is the nurturing, protective, and comforting energy that we all need to feel safe and loved. In astrology, this is connected to the fourth house, which governs our emotional foundation, our family dynamics, and our sense of belonging. So when you're looking at your chart and you look at that fourth house, you can see what your emotional foundation looks like. It's your mothering style. It's what you're used to. It's also like the end of all matters. So it's like that full circle because you have that foundation with the fourth house, and then you ideally or inevitably wind up there again. The Divine Mother provides emotional care, security, support. She's a symbol of unconditional love and emotional connection. Now, the Divine Father, well, the Divine Father is going to be unconditionally loving, but it's not going to be as doting or as coddling as the Divine Mother. The Divine Father represents the authoritative, disciplined, and guiding energy that helps us achieve our goals and to take responsibility for our actions. In astrology, this energy is connected to the 10th house, which is all about our career, public life, and ambition. So you can look at your chart and say, okay, my 10th house, well, this is the highest point of my chart. This is what I should be aiming for. So it's how you deal with positions of authority. It's your fathering style. It's your disciplinarian style. And the Divine Father offers structure, guidance, and the ability to step into leadership roles. He helps us to build a solid foundation for success. So you need both. You need both, of course, because if the two are afflicted, well, there's an issue. Or if there's an imbalance. I always give the example of Nixon. Nixon, from what I gathered, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a history buff, but from what I gathered, Nixon didn't need to bug the Watergate office. Like, they didn't need to do that. They didn't need to do that at all. From what I gathered, the Democrats at that point were dead in the street, like bloody dead in the street. So there was no need for him to do that. And he probably would have won anyway, right? The election. But he was paranoid. And that really speaks to his afflicted fourth house. So if he just had that confidence, that sense of security and stability, he wouldn't have gone down in shame as he had. Because some might say Nixon did a lot of really great things, but that scandal certainly overrode all of that, right? It sort of filled up the space of who he is. When people think of Nixon, typically they think of him as a crook, etc. So that's an example of how you need a very strong emotional foundation, because theoretically Nixon would have won without cheating, right? He would have won without that. And we too don't need to go to extenuating measures to win 10th house, right? If we have our 4th house in check. So if you feel like you're good enough, that unconditional love that you get from the mother, that creates a launching pad for you to go toward whatever it is that you want. So bear that in mind. So why is it a game changer, honoring the divine parents? Well, balance. The divine mother nurtures, while the divine father structures, and together they complement each other like yin and yang, creating wholeness. One energy supports the other energy. It's like an axis. So you can foster harmony in both your emotional and your professional life. And you'll find that if you have balance in both, things are a lot easier. Healing. So no matter how amazing our parents may have been, the process of individuation means that we need to determine how we need to be loved. The process of individuation says, no, this is how I need to be nurtured. This is how I need to be structured, right? This is how I need to tap into these energies. So it will heal you, right? Because the divine mother, fulfills your need for care, while the father provides guidance. And if you meet these needs within yourself, you're going to create emotional balance and restore what was once missing, leading to greater fulfillment and wholeness. And I'd say the most important is that you get a fresh start. You can create, if you tap into the divine mother and father, a customized emotional experience based on your needs. And with this awareness, you can experience wholeness. Now, what's cool is if you're whole and you're feeling fulfilled, because like attracts like, you're going to attract relationships that also meet your needs, as your relationships are going to reflect back to you that completeness and fulfillment. So there's a lot of reasons why it's good to honor both, but essentially it's going to balance you out. It's going to heal anything that was not taken care of when you were younger. And the cool thing is, if you're fulfilled, your energy is going to be fulfilled, and you're going to not only attract other fulfilled partners, but because your energy is fulfilled, you're going to attract more fulfillment. You're not going to be looking for somebody to fulfill those roles for you, because that might be a fool's errand, right? So if you are coming from a place of fullness and completeness and wholeness, you're going to attract other people that can support you. And people are just going to be more likely to support you when you're already supported, because it's easy to support somebody who is already supported, right? So there's a lot of reasons why that we should be doing that. So how to honor the divine mother and father? Well, with the divine mother, you want to create a safe, nurturing space at home and in your life. Like, do you have a place where you can go to at the end of the day where you can just collapse and be you and let go and cry if you want to cry, or laugh if you want to laugh, right? You want to make sure that your emotions are appreciated and recognized, right, with that divine mother energy. And you need a space that's good for that, because the home is a metaphor for a mother. You'll see some people, they might have all of their stuff in boxes, and this is not when they're moving. This is like after they've moved. And what does that mean, right? What is that metaphor? What is that symbolism? Everything's boxed up. Well, there's a lot to unpack, so to speak, right? So home and mother, that's a metaphor. Home is a metaphor for mother. So you want to engage in self-care practices, nurturing hobbies, relaxation, time with loved ones. You also may want to reflect on your childhood dynamics and heal any emotional wounds related to the family. Sometimes it's as simple as, imagining yourself when you were younger and imagining yourself when you're older, caring for the inner child or caring for yourself, right? And going back in time in your imagination and making sure that you're there for you when you were younger, right? That nurturance that you may have needed that would have made all the difference in the world, right? So with the divine father, you just got to give yourself rules. You got to make sure that you're giving yourself guidelines, right? So the divine father, you can honor him by setting clear, disciplined goals for your career or personal development. Embrace leadership or take responsibility for your actions. If you're not taking responsibility for your actions, it's going to be very challenging to achieve your maximum potential, right? The more you can take drastic responsibility, even if there are extenuating circumstances. Well, I was young, I was naive, and it's a bitter pill to swallow, right? But if you take responsibility and say, well, maybe it was my karma, maybe it was my past life, maybe I chose this, maybe I was stupid, maybe I was naive, maybe I didn't know any better, whatever it is, at the end of the day, the more you can take drastic responsibility for your circumstances, the easier it's going to be for you to carve out a path that is best for you. Because then you're not acting as if you're beholden to what other people do, right? Then you're acting like a creator. Embrace leadership and take responsibility. We said that, and build structures in your life to support long-term success. Think about your life and where it is now, right? And always make peace with where you're at now, but be practical and say, okay, well, if this is what I want professionally, or even if this is what I want romantically, well, what steps do I need to take every single day in order to achieve that, right? So part of the Capricorn energy of that divine father is not believing in quick fixes, but looking at things realistically and saying, okay, well, this is going to take 6 months, this is going to take 7 years, whatever it might be, but planning your work and working your plan for not just your professional goals, but also your personal goals. Maybe you want a home, maybe you want a wife or a husband or whatever, right? So the divine father will help you to do that. So Louise Hay is well, she's amazing, but she gave us this quotation, and this could be this could be really helpful. If you ever encounter a problem, she says all you need to do is say, all is well, everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come, and I am safe. So if you want to really expedite your process of tapping into that divine mother and father, well, whenever you encounter a problem, say that. Say these 4 things. All is well. Everything's working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come, and I am safe. And if you think about it, well, that might be what the divine parents would tell you, right? If you're in a state of duress or pain or suffering, or you're going through any kind of problem, right? That's probably what the divine parents would tell you. So you can get a leg up on all of this by making sure that you're saying these things to yourself if you ever encounter a problem. Additionally, when we're dealing, I'm sorry about my design. I don't know how that happened. I tried fixing it. I forgot this slide, but it's a little bit screwed up, my fonts in this deck. So the Divine Mother is represented by the 4th house. That's what we're going to go through for every single sign. It's the nurturing, caring, protective part of you. The Divine Father is indicated by the 10th house. It's your career, your public life, your authority. It's disciplined, it's ambitious, and it's structuring. So we're going to go through every single sign, starting, of course, with Aries. So for Aries, with your divine mother is actually in the sign of Cancer, and your divine father is Capricorn. And this makes a lot of sense, actually, right? Because Aries is, Aries want to stand out, and they're all about identity. Like an Aries typically fears mediocrity more than death. Like you would ask an Aries, like they'd rather be hated than tolerated. They'd rather be the biggest jerk you've ever met in your life than somebody that, falls under the radar. They need to have an identity, right? And it makes sense that Cancer and Capricorn rule the divine parents for Aries, because Cancer is the archetypic mother and Capricorn is the archetypic father. So that makes a lot of sense. Hey, Sonia, nice to see you. Oh, you're about to start to drive home. Okay, well, I wish you a wonderful drive home, and I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you for stopping by and saying hi. How do you know if you are balanced? Casmar asks. That's a really good question. Well, is everything going well for you? If things are going well for you, then you probably will feel as if things are balanced. I would say that if you're ever not feeling well or you're feeling off, probably you either need to nurture yourself more, Divine Mother, or establish better guidelines for you, Divine Father. So I would say you can always determine how you're doing by how you feel. That's your barometer. So I hope that helps. Um, so yeah, so it makes sense that with these archetypic mother and father energies, with Aries, because like I said, Aries are they fear mediocrity more than death. Usually, you have to look at the whole chart, but typically they do. So for the Divine Mother, for Aries, it's all about creating a comforting, supporting space in your home for rest and reflection. You want to nurture your emotional foundation by connecting with people that you love, be it friends or family. Maybe it's your family of choice or your family of origins. And it really would help for you to nurture others or other things in your home environment, either people that are in your environment or your dog or your plant or your fish, etc. And then you have the Divine Father for Aries, and that's Capricorn. So you want to really be Capricorn in your career, and that really is the best. Capricorn is ruler of the 10th house. They get the trophy. So you want to focus on setting career goals and building long-term success. Like, what do you need to do? And the trick for Aries really is to take that long term approach, because Aries are notoriously impatient and they don't always have the time to see a project through. It's like they're cardinal signs, so they start things, and sometimes they can start with a lot of enthusiasm, and they might lack the stamina. So with that Capricorn energy, that slow and steady wins the race. Embrace leadership roles or take action toward your ambitions. I mean, I think that's going to be key. I think Aries is one of those signs that they do so much better in a leadership role as opposed to a subordinate role. And I think that with Aries, you want to do something that is going to make you the best. Like, what are you best at, right? I think of all the signs, Aries really needs to go with what they are most passionate about, because they're just not going to succeed unless they're passionate about what they do. They don't have that staying power. They're a fire sign, right? You can't fake passion. And I would also say for Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. They love being first. They love being number one. So I would say for Aries, think about what you want to be the first to do. Like, oh, I'm going to be the first person to do this, right? Or if it's not the first, how can you be number one? Maybe you want to be the number one podcaster or the number one writer on the New York Times bestsellers list. Who knows, right? But you want to really aim for that number one first place position, because that's Aries' destiny, right? They are the first sign of the zodiac. So try to be first, be number one. And I would say Aries also really needs to take big care of nurturing itself, because Aries have a tendency to have abandonment issues. So for Taurus, Leo and Aquarius, so the Divine Mother, you're going to be, most likely proud of your home, Taurus. Like, that's going to be big for you because Leo rules your Divine Mother. And you want to express your creativity and your individuality in your home. Spend time with loved ones, that warmth and that comfort, and doing things that are creative, maybe with your kids, and reflect on how your home environment nurtures your sense of self-worth, right? Can you go to your home and feel really good about yourself? Are you proud of your home? Are you proud of your kids? Are you proud of what you've created? I would say that with Taurus, having a beautiful home is really, really important, something that they could be proud of. And that sense of pride, finding people who are proud of you, Taurus, and finding people that you can be proud of is going to help you an awful lot. Now, it's interesting, right? You got tried and true Taurus, and your 10th house, the Divine Father, is ruled by Aquarius. And that's so incongruous, right? Because Aquarius is all about rebellion, and Taurus is very much status quo. So for Taurus, in your career, you actually want to think about how you can innovate, how you can do things differently. right? Maybe it's a matter of people will trust you since you are so traditional. You want to embrace your leadership and authority in a unique and unconventional way. You want to allow yourself to be a little quirky as a boss, as an employer in your professional path. Like, how can you do things that are different, right? I think it's a matter of knowing the rules. You get to break the rules. And then, of course, Taurus, think about how your professional path can help other people. Aquarius is the humanitarian of the zodiac. So it's about really thinking about how you can contribute to the collective, how you can help other people. And that's going to give you a very strong sense of fulfillment. So for Gemini, the divine mother and father, Virgo and Pisces. So for you, Gemini, your divine mother, to really tap into that energy, create a very well organized home, an emotionally supportive home. I think with that Virgo divine mother energy, Gemini, you want to really focus on service. This could be, doing lunch prep for the whole week for your kids, or your husband, or making sure that everything's organized in the home, right? Serving others with love and care, whether through family or community support. I also would say with Gemini, to nurture yourself, make sure you have nothing around you that doesn't serve any practical purpose. It's very easy because Gemini is very intelligent and they're usually jack of all trades, master of none, for everything to go everywhere, right? And you want to be really tidy if you can help it. You want to keep your home really tidy. That's gonna help give you a sense of emotional security. And reflect on how you care for your loved ones and how you maintain emotional stability for them. I think that, the key word for Virgo is, or one of their key words would be judgment, right? Discrimination more so. Like, how does it call for you to respond in certain ways? Can you be, believe it or not, somewhat perfectionistic when it comes to being a mother? Because Gemini is the toddler of the zodiac. And, your kids aren't going to want a toddler for a mom. Maybe in some instances it might be good, but to be a little bit more perfectionistic, a little bit more discriminating with what you say, what you don't say, that'll serve you and your family well. And with Pisces, as your divine father, it's interesting. You want to be more intuitive when it comes to your professional life. You want to embrace that intuitive, compassionate leadership energy in your career. I would also say definitely visualize how you want things to go professionally. You might actually be able to get a lot of wins rather swiftly if you visualize what it is that you want. You might find that your career path is somewhat spiritualized. Maybe it's aligned with your deepest dreams or your spiritual beliefs. Taking a more spiritual, compassionate, even idealistic side to, approach to your career is going to help you. And of course, allow your creativity and your intuition to guide your career decisions. Even though Gemini is an air sign, if you think about it, air is actually thinner than water and certainly thinner than earth and fire. So that means that Gemini and all air signs theoretically are actually more sensitive. That doesn't mean they're able to do anything with that sensitivity, right? Because they're in their head. But because you are sensitive, you can really tune into what people might need if you are at the helm of some organization or even a leader in your home. So for you, Cancer, your divine mother is your fourth house divine mother is ruled by the sign of Libra. So you want to make sure that everything is harmonious and balanced in your home and your family relationships. This would encourage you to be more of like the peacemaker, right? Oh, he didn't mean it. You don't want to look at it that way. He sometimes doesn't know what he's saying, etc. It's about really smoothing things over, being that peacemaker, and really watching out for a tendency to start things that are not necessary. On a bad day, Libra can, like all the cardinal signs, they can be shit starters, right? So it's about really making a decision. Like if I tell this person this, well, number one, do they need to know? Do I need to tell them that Harry said that he thinks you're an idiot? Like, do I need to relay that? Do I need to bring up this part of the conversation, right? It's not a matter of like you have to lie, but you want to foster harmony. And because, you are a cardinal, you got to watch out for saying things that are better left unsaid. I think Cancer typically is probably good about that. Unless they want to start trouble, then they know exactly how to. Create an emotionally supportive environment by nurturing your peace and your beauty. You probably want to have beautiful things in your home, Cancer, beautiful artwork or beautiful lamps and rugs, etc. Like that's going to help you feel more at home. And reflect on how you do create that emotional balance through your relationships with your family. How can you balance the people in your life? If you're seeing your family members out of balance, how can you say, let's watch a show tonight? You guys, you've been working so hard and you probably need a day off, right? You need a night off from having to work so hard. Now, Cancer, when it comes to your career, you are not to be messed with. You got Aries on the 10th house cusp, and this is true. I do find that Cancers can really kick ass professionally, and it's really great to see because you wouldn't necessarily think so because, well, like the crab, they move sideways, right? But in your career, that might be the way in which you are a lot more direct because your divine father is ruled by the sign of Aries. So, you can assert yourself in your career and take bold action toward your professional goals. Like it's all about knowing that you need to stand up for yourself and make sure that you're counted. Embrace leadership with courage, stepping into authority with confidence. So I think really, Cancer, the big thing to remember is to get on a guard, like an armor, so to speak, because you are the most sensitive sign of the zodiac. And, well, you can't be everybody's best friend if you want to do a really good job professionally, right? You got to crack some eggs to make an omelet. You got to be real. And really that sensitivity should probably be more in your home than in your job. Reflect on how you balance your emotional needs with professional assertiveness. What can you do to make sure that you're taking good care of yourself emotionally at home? And even vulnerable. How can you be more vulnerable in your divine femininity on the home front so then you can kick ass in your career? And that's really key for many people, but I would say particularly with Cancer. So for you, Leo, your divine mother is ruled by the sign of Scorpio. So you might be very intense, and that does make a lot of sense, right? Because the Leo's home is their kingdom. So if things are not going well in the Leo's home, they do not like to talk about it. They're very, very severe when it comes to their home. So what I mean by that is Leos can be very extreme when it comes to their home life, right? They can be, they have a tendency to get into very, very difficult arguments with family members. Their family life can be rather tumultuous. They can cut people out of their lives. They can have severe likes and dislikes with family members, right? So embrace your emotional depth, but also embrace transformation in your family relationships. Maybe you need to heal something in your family unit so you're not, flying off the handle every Thanksgiving, right? So acknowledge your emotional intensity and acknowledge where you may need to heal, what you may need to let go of. And nurture yourself by facing your emotional wounds, allowing for healing. We sort of said that. Reflect on how you create a space for emotional growth and deep connections. I would say that in your home, Leo, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're recognizing that your children or your wife or your husband, whoever you live with, they're not necessarily simple. Like I think all the fixed signs can be rather curt at times when it comes to giving other people grace. Well, this is very simple. Why can't you just do it like this? Like it's very simple. Just do it this way. Well, your family members might be a lot more complex than that. Maybe they're suffering from something and they don't feel comfortable to tell you about it, right? So realize that there's a lot of emotional stuff going on with the people in your home that you may not be privy to. don't jump to the conclusion that you know why somebody isn't behaving in a certain way or why they are behaving in a certain way, right? Take time to really zone in on the emotional complexities that might be important for you understanding the scope of a situation. Now, the Divine Father, you got to do the right thing in your career, Leo. You got to do the right thing. You got to make sure that everything you do is beyond reproach, right? Because you got to be Taurus in your career and focus on building a stable, secure foundation. Like, you want to make sure that you're really solid, that you're consistent. Save the drama. If you got to have drama, save it for your home life, your private life, right? Because in your career, you need to be solid. You really want to make sure that you're focusing on long-term security and working toward tangible results and making sure you're taking responsibility for your wealth, right, and your investments. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's a Leo, I found out today he's one of the richest actors. And that's not just because of his acting, but because of his bodybuilding, but particularly his real estate. And that makes a lot of sense, right? So reflect also on how your career goals align with your values and your need for stability. Like, just remind yourself, oh, I'm doing this because of this. I'm doing this because of my kids. I'm doing this so I can retire early. Like, determine why you're doing certain things. Because if you have a really good why, you can deal with pretty much any how. And with Virgo, you got your Divine Mother is ruled by Sagittarius. Your fourth house is ruled by Sag. And your Divine Father is ruled by Gemini. So in terms of your Divine Mother, you want to nurture yourself by embracing adventure, travel, philosophical exploration. It might be helpful, Virgo, if you're stressed out, go on a trip, right? Or throw yourself into a movie, a book. You know, you probably want to get away when you're stressed, right? You want to nurture yourself by giving yourself some kind of adventure, either literally going on a journey or having a journey in your mind. You want to create space that allows for physical and intellectual freedom. Like, make sure that your home has space in it. I think of all the signs, like, it'd be awesome for Virgo to have acres, right? Lots and lots of acres and lots of land. And Sagittarius and Virgo really do align with that. They typically like wide open spaces and nature and earth around them. And reflect on how your home supports your need for emotional comfort and freedom. Even just reflecting on that, like what I need to do in order to give my home that sense of freedom, right? Maybe it's just, getting a bay window or putting maps or art that takes you away to a nice place in your brain, right? Now, with your career, you might decide, Virgo, to do more than one thing because you got Gemini, the sign of duality, as your Divine Father. So you might find that you make the most dent in your life, in the world, so to speak, by juggling more than one career, more than one job. In any case, in either job, or even if you only have one job, focus on communication, learning, and intellectual exploration. You gotta be learning in your career, and that attitude as constantly learning is going to really help you get the most out of your professional endeavors. Lead with curiosity, adaptability, embrace new knowledge. I think, Virgo, you get to actually be more of a kid in your career, probably because you like to work and you're really good at it, right? So recognize, Virgo, that typically nobody's going to do a better job than you. You're just, you're the hardest worker. You really are. So with that in mind, give yourself the license to play. I mean, you may as well. You're the best anyway, typically with whatever you're in charge with. So be sure to have fun and reflect on how your career goals align with your desire for intellectual engagement, a career that allows you to talk to other people, making sure that you're doing that, right? That even if you're not talking to people a lot in your career, well, making sure that you're giving yourself time every week to do that. So for Libra, your Divine Mother, it's always weird with Libra because it's always the opposite, right? Because the Divine Father is ruled by Capricorn and the Divine Mother is ruled by Cancer, generally speaking, right? But for Libra, it's the opposite. So your divine mother, Libra, is ruled by the sign of Capricorn, while your divine father is ruled by the sign of Cancer. And that's your balance. So with Capricorn being your divine ruling your fourth house, you got to create this like structured, organized home environment that supports your professional goals. You might run your home like a workshop. You want to be nurturing in a way that creates order. You got to create a certain degree of security. A lot of this might actually be because Libras have this tendency at times to, like, the men sometimes seem like women and the women sometimes seem like men. Not always, but you know, a lot of, for instance, straight Libra men get taken as gay because they seem to have femininity, but they're not usually gay. Obviously, there are some gay Libra men, but my point being that Libras have a tendency to sort of appear like the inverse, right? The men might seem to have more feminine characteristics, probably because they're ruled by Venus, and the women have more masculine characteristics, but it's more so with the men. But in any case, you want to run your home in a really organized fashion. You want to make sure that you're giving yourself rules. You're telling yourself, you know, what you need to do. That's your way of nurturing yourself. And it's ironic, but because you're the sign of balance, there's that opposite thing there. So the way you would nurture your divine mother is by tapping in really to the divine father energy in a lot of ways, right? Discipline, stability, giving yourself rules, adhering to schedules. Focus on building a solid foundation within your family relationships. You've got to be the adult, Libra. You have to be the adult in your home by making sure that everybody's getting along well or that you're keeping the peace. You've got to be the adult in your home. Now, when it comes to your career, you actually might be very, very nurturing and very, very caring. You might be that type that is in your career always, you know, in your job, handing out vitamins to people who are sick or asking people how they're doing. Are you okay? So create those emotional connections in your career where appropriate. Lead with compassion and sensitivity and balancing your work with your emotional well-being. Like how can you allow yourself to take care of your fellow coworkers or take care of the world at large, right? How can you nurture the world? And reflect on how you can balance professional success with emotional fulfillment. Like, what does that look like, right? And be sure that your career is helping you develop not just your intelligent, intellectual, professional side, but also that sense of compassion, right? Understanding more of the universal family, right? How is the world, like the family, right? How can the world be like the family? Because with Cancer on your 10th house, and in a manner of speaking, you're taking care of the world. No pressure. No pressure. So for you, Scorpio, the divine mother for you is ruled by Aquarius. Divine father is Leo. I think this makes a lot of sense because Scorpios are pretty intense, right? And Aquarius is pretty detached. So I feel like in order for a Scorpio to be a good mother, for instance, there needs to be a certain level of like removal. Like, okay, well, I don't get this, and that's okay. My kid needs to figure it out on her own, right? Or you know, kids can be like brats, and they think their parents are just so uncool. You know, that Aquarius 10th house Scorpio, you're able to be sort of like, okay, I get it. You know, I'm a nerd or I'm like totally uncool because I'm your parent. Fine. But there's a certain level of detachment that is actually going to help Scorpio if they have that detachment in their home life, right? So in your home, you want to embrace your individuality and your unique approach to family dynamics. You might be odd when it comes to your personal life and a little bit more quirky, right? And you want to make sure that your space and your home, make it as weird as you want. You want to create a nurturing space that reflects your freedom and your connection with other people, those things that you love. You want to embrace your weirdness in your home life, right? Embrace that quirky, eccentric side of yourself. I also would say with the people in your home, I think friendship is really important. So yeah, you got to be a parent. You can't your child doesn't need a friend, they need a parent. But there are times in which you can balance both, and you can be a good parent, but also a good friend, so long as you ensure that your parental duties come first, because that's your job. And reflect on how your home life supports your need for emotional independence. You might want to do things outside of your home. You might want to, you know, leave the kids with the sitter for a while, or, take a vacation, let your kids, be with their dad or their mom or whatever. You want to practice a certain amount of detachment in your home life, because that level of intensity that you normally bring to everything, Scorpio, might stifle your kids, right? Or they might stifle your family members. So get some air, get some life outside of the home, and be a little detached. And I think you'll see it. Oh, yes. Yay, Scorpio, indeed, Kelsey. You always embrace your weirdness. Oh, I'm glad, Casimir. I'm glad. Now, when it comes to your career, Scorpio, oh boy, you are lit. You are on fire. Because Leo rules your 10th house. And that makes a lot of sense, because Scorpios they're just great in their careers, especially if they do anything creative. I think that Scorpio is probably the most imaginative sign, because they really, really commit. Oh, I'm glad you do too, Kelsey. Yeah, they really, really commit. So in your career, Leo, be sure you're focusing on self-expression, creativity, leadership. Lead with passion, confidence. Allow yourself to shine. Like, really go there and allow yourself to push it. And reflect on how your career allows you to express yourself creatively and powerfully. Allow yourself to maybe create some kind of aspect of your career or your public life that is creative. So even if your job isn't creative, well, maybe you might do something creative in the public, right? That could be great. So for Sagittarius, your 4th house is ruled by Pisces and your 10th is ruled by Virgo. So when it comes to your home life, Pisces, you're going to be very nurturing and very, very compassionate, right? You're going to be needing, I think, if anything, Sagittarius, is to understand boundaries in terms of your home life. And that is a matter of making sure that you're saying no when you mean no. And because I think with Pisces ruling your 4th house, the lines get blurred, right? Sagittarius is so open-minded and broad-minded, and they can look at things from so many different lenses. But I think a certain amount of role acknowledgement is really important for Sagittarius, because they can sometimes get lost in the weeds, right? So embrace emotional depth, spirituality, and compassion in your family life. I think Sagittarius could really most likely help their children or their family develop their spirituality, because Sagittarius can be very spiritualized. Nurture your emotional needs through introspection, healing, and meditation. Sometimes the answers are not going to come with your mind. And the Sagittarius plight is because they're so smart, they have a tendency to think too much, right? So if you have any issue that's going on in the home front, Sag, have an issue with the kids or the hubs, the wifey, well, maybe you need to meditate on it, right? And reflect on how your home environment fosters emotional growth and spiritual connection. Adding a spiritual component to your home. This could be saying grace, or, a gratitude practice, right, with your children. That could be very helpful. Now, when it comes to your career, ironically, Sagittarius, you're going to do really well by being persnickety. You got to be more Virgo-y in your career. And Sagittarius is not Virgo-y one bit. They are big picture, right? And with the Divine Father, you want to make sure that you are being organized, that you're building a disciplined, service-oriented career. And I feel like, Sagittarius, I don't know. I feel like it really depends on the chart. If you have a Sagittarius and they have a Virgo moon, they're super organized. But if you have a Sagittarius, the Pisces moon, everything's all over the place, right? But I think that in your career, you want to definitely be as organized as possible, so then you can leave your job and go home and play, right? Because at the end of the day, Sagittarius wants things that are expansive, and that could be your career. Lead with practicality, attention to detail, while serving others with your skills. So you got to zone in. It's definitely a different vibe, right? Virgo from Sag. And reflect on how your professional life aligns with your desire for service and growth. If you, Sagittarius, can see what you're doing is, as being something that's going to help the world at large, it's like a ripple effect, and that's going to help you professionally. It's like sometimes it's a matter of just losing yourself in service, and that will help you an awful lot. And Capricorn. So Capricorn, your divine mother is ruled by Aries, and your divine father is ruled by Libra. So when it comes to your home, you want to make sure that you're in charge, essentially, which is probably not difficult because you tend to be in charge of anything that you're involved in, right? So nurture yourself through action, independence, and self-assertion in your family. You got to be in charge here, and it's all up to you. You got to, determine how you want your family to be run. You got to give rules, and you're not going to be always liked. And let your child write a nasty book about you when he grows older, right? But allow yourself to be the heavy. Allow yourself to make those rules, even if it makes you unpopular. Who cares, right? At the end of the day, you're doing what's best for your kid or your hubby, whatever. Create a home environment that encourages personal growth, passion, and leadership. You want to make sure that you're setting your family up for success, right? So how can things be arranged in such a way that it's easy for people to follow their excitement within your home, especially you, right? Do you have an area in your life where you get to be passionate about something or do a project that you really, really like, right? Is it easy for you to find that passion? And reflect on how you can lead with compassion while maintaining your independence, right? I would say that, also delegate, Capricorn, delegate, like leave the kids with your spouse and go on vacations. Don't feel like you have to, be home all the time. You can give the orders and make sure that you're maintaining your independence, that you have things to do outside the home. Now, when it comes to your career, Capricorn, you want to really allow yourself to be very, very balanced and very diplomatic, because we know that you're going to the top. We know that that's your plan, but you don't want to let other people know that. You don't want to come across as too ambitious. That's why Libra rules your 10th house, so you can be diplomatic, detached, fair, and just lovely. That's what you want people to say about you, Capricorn. Oh, she's just lovely. She's a peach. Little do they know that you're climbing up the ranks. But it's going to help you to be very balanced, very diplomatic. Don't say everything that you think. Focus on balance, harmony, and collaboration, right? So it's sort of like, you're having to front and act like you're a lot more chill than you actually are professionally if you want to get ahead, right? Because there's that expression, like nobody likes a goat. So when a Capricorn acts like a Capricorn, especially on the work front, I'm sorry, they're not going to be liked. They're just not. There's nothing fun or enjoyable about a typical Capricorn at a place of employment. They're like sticks in the mud. They're fuddy-duddy. Sure, they help you get it done. They help you deliver, and that's good. But you want to make sure that you are balancing that with more lightness and perspective, etc. So lead with fairness, diplomacy, relationships that support mutual goals. Tap into that team player aspect. Because you don't want to come across as too ambitious. That could be intimidating. And reflect on how your career allows you to balance authority with cooperation. You want to make out like your real job really is to really be balanced and to be a good collaborator. Make that your goal, and you're probably going to get ahead a lot more quickly, just because you're going to get ahead more quickly because you're going to be more well-liked. And that's very important. So for Aquarius, your home life or your 4th house, your divine mother, is ruled by Taurus, and your career is ruled by Scorpio. So when it comes to your home life, you need a nice, comfortable home. You need nice pillows and nice smells and nice temperature and nice food. You want to make sure that everything is just, I don't know, maybe borderline hedonistic. You want to make sure that you're very comfortable in your home. You want to make sure that it gives you a sense of security and comfort. Reflect on how your emotional needs are met through physical comfort and material stability. It's interesting having Taurus on the 4th house. you got to recognize that you're going to be more comfortable if you have X amount of dollars in the bank, or that if you have your investments. I'd say for Aquarius, you want to make sure that, you're saving, and that you have, your wealth is working for you. And that, that rainy day, it might not ever come, but Taurus wants to know that it's stable. So you want to make sure your home is really, really solid. It also would be nice to, beautify your home. It's ruled by Taurus. So make sure that, it's beautiful, that you love it, and focus on nurturing yourself through calming activities. Taurus wants calm that allow for rest and relaxation. So make sure that your home is conducive to that. Spruce it up, give yourself some extra pillows, some comfort, nice things like that. And that's going to help you an awful lot. Now, when it comes to your career, that sweet people person, oh, he's so likable, Aquarius. Well, when it comes to their career, Scorpio rules their 10th house, so they're pretty severe in their career. They can be very, I would say, cutthroat at times, at least intense. They can at least be intense when it comes to themselves professionally. They're very, I think with Scorpio on the 10th house cusp, they need to have a career that has some kind of emotional meaning behind it. Scorpio as a sign, as an energy, they can't really do something unless they're emotionally invested. So I think the most important thing for Aquarius professionally is to make sure that you care. Make sure that your career has heart and meaning. Otherwise, you're not going to go as far as you could. Likewise, when it comes to your career, embrace transformation. You might be changing things professionally, not really like quickly, but when you make a change after an extended period of time, it may be quite a drastic change. And make sure that you're doing something that is deep in some level, right? Either in-depth psychology or research, something that is all about digging or looking beneath the surface of things. That's going to be really, really helpful. Even if you're transforming an organization, right? Lead with intensity and purpose, tapping into your personal power and vision. I think Aquarius, because it's a humanitarian of the zodiac, with Scorpio in the 10th house, they can make quite an impact, right? Because that Scorpio energy is directed to the world. So think about your personal power and your vision. And I think most important is to reflect on how your career path allows you to transform both yourself and others. And you want to make sure that your influence is catalyzing deep change. How can you heal people in your career? This could be from writing stories that make people laugh or entertain people, or this could be, serving people by being a tax lawyer, keeping people from getting audited, things like that. I say that because Scorpio does rule taxes. But you want to make sure that your career has heart and meaning. And last but never least, Pisces. So when it comes to your home, you're probably going to be like a little kid, Pisces. When it comes to your family, you're going to be, that eternal toddler, because Gemini rules your 4th house. You want to make sure that your home has a certain amount of diversity, right? And like things that are eclectic and playfulness. You want to make sure your home has areas that are bright and sunny. You might want to favor colors, like primary colors, like yellow and red and blue, right? Because you want a certain amount of stimuli in your home. You want to nurture yourself through communication, intellectual engagement, socializing. You might be the type that, you have a pot of coffee on all the time and you got an open door for your friends to come in and gossip with you. I think gossip is very likely with Gemini on your 4th house. You may gossip in your home. You want a home environment that fosters mental stimulation and open dialogue. You want to make sure that your home is a place where people can go to just chat and talk about anything that they want. Your kids should be able to say, what they think about things, right? Encourage that sense of dialogue and make sure that you're allowing yourself to be open intellectually too. Might help Pisces to talk about things either to yourself or your kids, your spouse, and reflect on how your emotional needs are supported through connection and sharing ideas. If you reflect on that, that's going to become more of an apparency. When it comes to your career, Pisces, you want to go far and wide, right? Your career is actually blessed by Jupiter, right? Now, Jupiter is actually your traditional ruler Pisces, so you might be able to make the most gains in your life professionally, right, on the world stage. So focus on expanding your horizons, both professionally and personally. How can you go far and wide? How can you make a big impact in the world, right? Lead with optimism, vision, and a sense of adventure, aiming for mind expansion. So you want to make sure that professionally you're going really, really far and wide and really thinking about the best case scenarios, and the sky is the limit, and making sure that your career in some respects is an adventure, because you're going to get bored easily if you don't allow yourself to find something that allows you to expand and grow. Publishing, broadcast, writing, anything that allows you to really expand is going to be best, or helping other people expand, really. And reflect on how your career aligns with your need for exploration, freedom, and growth. If your career can give you that, then you're very, very close. The fishies, I know, are fishies. So we did it. I'm going to leave you with this Louise Hay affirmation. Whenever a problem comes up, all you got to say is, all is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come, and I am safe. So if you can say that, then you're gonna just feel much better. So thank you all for joining me. As late as I was, I so appreciate people sticking around, waiting for me. Thank you. Thanks everybody for showing up or even watching the replay. And I will see you tomorrow, of course, at 1 p.m. Eastern for this week astrology. And have a happy full moon if you're catching this live. My pleasure, Kelsey. Thanks, Casmar. Thanks, everybody. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Perfect.